early morning sun cast long shadows across Hallowville as Sabrina made her way back to the library. The events of the previous day, the gnome invasion and the discovery of the hidden magical book, weighed heavily on her mind. She clutched her bag tightly, feeling the reassuring presence of the ancient tome within. As she approached the library, Sabrina noticed something odd. Vines had begun to creep up the sides of the building overnight, their tendrils reaching towards the roof with unnatural speed. Flowers of all kinds bloomed along the vines, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the library's weathered brick facade. Curiouser and curiouser, Sabrina muttered to herself, unlocking the library door. The familiar scent of old books greeted her, but there was something else in the air, a sweet, almost intoxicating fragrance that hadn't been there before. Inside, Sabrina headed straight for the hidden section they had discovered the previous night. As she pulled out the ancient records, a soft chirping alerted her to the presence of her hedgehog familiar. The creature appeared on a nearby shelf, its quills glowing faintly in the dim light. "Good morning," Sabrina said softly, reaching out to gently pat the hedgehog's head. "Ready to do some more investigating?" The hedgehog chirped in response, its tiny paws scrabbling at a particularly dusty tome. Sabrina carefully pulled it out, sending a cloud of dust into the air. As she opened the book, her eyes widened in surprise. "Past spring rituals and magical occurrences," she read aloud. "This is exactly what we need." For the next few hours, Sabrina pored over the ancient texts, her excitement growing with each page turned. The record spoke of a delicate balance between Halloween and spring magic that had been maintained in Hallowville for centuries. Rituals performed at the equinoxes kept the two forces in check, preventing either from overwhelming the other. "So that's why Hallowville has always felt so special," Sabrina mused. "It's not just the Halloween theme, it's the magic itself." As she delved deeper into the records, a pattern began to emerge. Every 100 years or so, the balance would shift, causing magical disturbances similar to what they were experiencing now. Each time, the town's magical guardians would step in to restore equilibrium. The hedgehog familiar, seemingly sensing the importance of her discovery, suddenly leaped onto the table. It scurried across the open books, its tiny paws leaving glowing tracks on the pages. Sabrina watched in amazement as the tracks formed a pattern, highlighting specific passages in the text. "What are you showing me?" she wondered aloud, leaning in to read the illuminated words. The passages all referred to a particular artifact, a scepter of incredible magical power. According to the records, this scepter was crucial in performing the equinox rituals that maintained the balance between Halloween and spring magic. Just as Sabrina was about to dive deeper into the scepter's history, her phone rang, startling her out of her research trance. The caller ID showed it was from the Hallowville Historical Society. "Hello?" Sabrina answered, her voice still hushed from hours in the quiet library. "Sabrina, it's Agatha from the Historical Society," came a frantic voice. "We have a situation here. One of our most valuable artifacts has gone missing, and, well, strange things are happening. We need your help." Sabrina's heart raced. Could it be? "Agatha, this artifact, is it a scepter by any chance?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Yes. How did you know?" "I'll explain when I get there," Sabrina said, already gathering her things. "I'm on my way." As she rushed out of the library, Sabrina couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a coincidence. The missing artifact, the magical disturbances, it all seemed to be connected to the balance she'd just been reading about. The Hallowville Historical Society was housed in an imposing Victorian mansion on the outskirts of town. As Sabrina approached, she immediately sensed that something was amiss. The air around the building seemed to shimmer, like heat waves on a summer day. But it was the middle of spring, and the temperature was mild. Sabrina cautiously made her way up the front steps, the hedgehog familiar hot on her heels. As she reached for the doorknob, it suddenly vanished, leaving her hand grasping at thin air. She blinked, and the doorknob reappeared, only to disappear again when she tried to touch it. "Magical security measures," Sabrina muttered, "and they've gone haywire." She took a deep breath, focusing on the magic she could feel thrumming through the air. With a wave of her hand, she dispelled the illusion, revealing the true door beneath. It swung open at her touch, admitting her into a world of chaos. The interior of the Historical Society was a maze of shifting rooms and corridors. Sabrina found herself stepping from a Victorian parlor into a medieval great hall, then into a futuristic laboratory. Time itself seemed to be in flux, with scenes from different eras playing out before her eyes. "Agatha?" Sabrina called out, her voice echoing strangely in the shifting space. "Where are you?" A familiar voice answered, but it seemed to come from multiple directions at once. "Sabrina, thank goodness you're here. We're in the artifact room, I think. Everything keeps changing." Guided by Agatha's voice and her own magical senses, Sabrina navigated through the chaotic building. The hedgehog familiar proved invaluable, its ability to sense magical energies helping them avoid the worst of the temporal distortions. Finally, after what felt like hours but could have been mere minutes, Sabrina found Agatha and the other Historical Society staff huddled in what appeared to be the eye of the magical storm. The artifact room was the only space that seemed untouched by the chaos, though the empty pedestal at its center spoke volumes. "The scepter," Agatha said, her voice trembling. "It's been the centerpiece of our collection for generations. We never knew it was actually magical." Sabrina approached the pedestal, running her hand over its surface. She could feel residual magic pulsing beneath her fingertips. "It's not just magical," she explained. "It's crucial to maintaining the balance of magic in Hallowville. Without it..." As if on cue, a tremor ran through the building. The walls of the artifact room flickered, threatening to dissolve into the chaos beyond. "We need to find it," Sabrina said firmly. "And fast. Agatha, is there anything else you can tell me about the scepter? Any clues about where it might have gone?" Agatha shook her head, but then paused, her brow furrowing in thought. Wait, there was something. An old map that was displayed next to the scepter. It showed some kind of garden, I think, but it vanished along with the scepter. Sabrina's eyes lit up. "A garden? That could be important. We need to find that map." With renewed purpose, Sabrina began to search the room, using her magic to probe for any hidden compartments or concealed clues. The hedgehog familiar joined in, its quills glowing brighter as it sniffed around the edges of the room. Suddenly, the familiar let out an excited chirp. It had found a loose floorboard, and as Sabrina pried it up, she saw a glint of aged parchment. "The map!" she exclaimed, carefully extracting it from its hiding place. As she unrolled the delicate parchment, Sabrina gasped. The map showed a detailed layout of Hallowville, but not as it was now. This was an older version of the town with one significant addition, a large circular garden hidden in what was now the heart of the forest park. "A secret magical garden," Sabrina breathed, her finger tracing the intricate design. "This must be where the scepter came from originally." Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Noah. "Sabrina, something weird is happening all over town. Plants are growing out of control. Meet me in the square ASAP." Sabrina looked up from her phone to see Agatha staring out the window, her eyes wide with shock. Following her gaze, Sabrina saw what had caught her attention. The trees and flowers outside were growing at an alarming rate, their branches and stems visibly extending as they watched. "The balance is shifting faster than we thought," Sabrina said, her voice tight with concern. "Without the scepter to regulate it, the spring magic is running wild." She turned to Agatha, her expression serious. "I need to go investigate this growth and find Noah. Can you and your staff secure this building and keep searching for any other clues about the scepter?" Agatha nodded, looking determined despite her obvious fear. "We'll do our best. Just be careful out there, Sabrina, and find that scepter." As Sabrina hurried out of the Historical Society, the map clutched tightly in her hand, and the hedgehog familiar at her heels, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The secret garden, the missing scepter, the out-of-control plant growth, it all pointed to a magical crisis unlike anything Hallowville had seen before. She picked up her pace, heading towards the town square to meet Noah. Whatever was coming, they would face it together, and somehow they would find a way to restore the balance before it was too late. As she ran, Sabrina's mind raced with possibilities. The scepter was key, she was sure of it, but who had taken it? And why? Was it someone who understood its power, or an unwitting thief who had no idea of the chaos they'd unleashed? The answers, she hoped, lay in the secret garden shown on the map. But first, they needed to deal with the immediate crisis of the rapidly growing plants. Sabrina just hoped that between her unpredictable magic and Noah's practical skills, they'd be able to keep Hallowville from being overrun by a botanical apocalypse. As Sabrina approached the town square, the sight that greeted her was both breathtaking and alarming. The once orderly park had transformed into a wild jungle of oversized plants. Flowers as big as dinner plates bloomed on vines that twisted around lampposts, while trees stretched their branches towards the sky at an unnatural speed. In the center of it all stood Noah, looking both awestruck and overwhelmed. When he spotted Sabrina, relief washed over his face. "Sabrina," he called out, carefully making his way through the tangle of vegetation. "I've never seen anything like this. It's like the whole town is turning into a giant greenhouse." As they stood together surveying the rapidly changing landscape, Sabrina felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. She clutched the ancient map in one hand and felt the weight of the magical book in her bag. These were the keys to understanding what was happening, but they were also stepping into unknown territory. "Noah," she said, her voice filled with determination, "I think I know what's causing this, and I have an idea of where we need to go next. But it's going to be dangerous, and I can't guarantee what we'll find." Noah met her gaze, his expression resolute. "Whatever it is, we're in this together. Where you go, I go." Sabrina nodded, a small smile playing on her lips despite the gravity of the situation. She unfolded the map, revealing the location of the secret garden to Noah. "Then let's go," she said. "We have a hidden garden to find and a magical balance to restore." As they set off towards the edge of town where the forest began to encroach on the suburbs, neither Sabrina nor Noah noticed the shadow that detached itself from a nearby alley. It watched them go, eyes glowing with an eerie green light, before melting back into the rapidly growing foliage. The next phase of their adventure was about to begin, and the fate of Hallowville hung in the balance. The secret garden awaited, holding not just answers but dangers beyond their wildest imaginations. This mystical place would test not only their abilities, but also the strength of their growing bond. As Sabrina and Noah ventured into the unknown, the true extent of their challenge remained hidden. The trials ahead would push them to their limits, forcing them to confront not only external threats, but also their own fears and doubts. The balance of Hallowville's magic, and perhaps their own futures, rested on what they would discover in the heart of that enigmatic garden. The hedgehog familiar chirped softly, its quills glowing with a mix of autumnal and floral hues, as if sensing the dual nature of their quest. Sabrina looked down at the little creature, a sense of determination washing over her. "You're right,"